Today we're looking at a big change in the world of TV news.
Oh yeah, this is a pretty interesting one.
Lester Holt stepping down from NBC Nightly News after a whole decade. It's a big deal.
It really is. Makes you think, about what this means for the whole TV news landscape.
Exactly. I mean, Holt's been such a fixture, like a classic anchor.
That's it. He really represents that whole era of anchor-driven broadcasts. And now, well, who knows what's next?
Yeah, the article says he's leaving this summer, beginning of summer.
Hmm.
And no word yet on who's taking over.
Big shoes to fill.
For sure. Although, he's not leaving NBC altogether.
Right. He'll still be on Dateline NBC, which actually is a good reminder of just how long he's been with the network.
Yeah, he's done it all, hasn't he?
Weekends, both for Nightly News and for Today. And he's been the main anchor on Dateline for, almost 15 years?
Something like that. So this move away from the nightly desk, it's a big shift.
Absolutely signals a potential change in direction for NBC Nightly News. I mean, it's their flagship program.
Definitely makes you wonder where they're going with this. And you know what else it makes me think about?
What's that?
Evening news broadcasts in general. How they fit into, well, the way people get their news these days.
Oh, you're spot on with that one. The whole media landscape is changing, and fast.
It's pretty hard to keep up sometimes.
Tell me about it. Nielsen ratings show viewership for evening news has plummeted almost 50% over the past decade. And for viewers under 40, even steeper drop.
Wow.
It's online news sources, social media. That's where so many people are getting their information now, especially younger generations.
Makes sense. So the question becomes, how do these network news programs adapt? How do they stay relevant in this new world?
That's the million-dollar question.
I did notice the article mentioned Holt's style as an anchor.
Oh, interesting. What did they say?
They talked about his occasional commentaries, how they aimed for common ground and unity, that sort of thing.
Ah, that's a good point. And it raises another interesting aspect of all this, the role of the anchor's personality.
You mean in terms of building trust with viewers?
Exactly. Holt, with his efforts to bridge divides, his perceived neutrality, it probably resonated with a certain audience.
So now, with him leaving,
it could change the whole feel of the program, the perceived tone, the bias even, depending on who they pick to replace him.
Right, it's not just about what news gets reported anymore.
It's about how it gets delivered and by whom. That matters more than ever in a world with so many other options out there.
So many choices. Makes you wonder what kind of challenges the new anchor will face.
Well, you've got two audiences to think about, right? You've got the traditional viewers, the ones who still tune in every night at 6:30 or whatever it is. But then you've got those younger audiences, the ones who are used to getting their news online. That's a tough balancing act.
Yeah, no kidding.
I mean, look at platforms like TikTok, Instagram. News is being delivered in what? Bite-sized pieces, visually engaging.
Oh, totally.
And traditional networks, they got to figure out how to compete with that.
Right. It's not just about being on TV anymore.
Exactly.
This new anchor, whoever they are, they need to be comfortable on social media too, engaging with viewers on all these different platforms.
It's like they need to be a journalistic Swiss Army knife, someone who can do it all.
That's a great way to put it.
Multi-platform journalist, someone who can tell a story, offer analysis, whether it's on a 30-minute broadcast or a 3-minute online segment.
Makes you wonder, though, will NBC Nightly News stick with that traditional format? Or will they try to shake things up, try to attract those new viewers?
It's a tough call. Change a successful formula. Risky. But then again, staying the same while everything else changes, also risky.
Yeah, for sure.
And what's really fascinating is how this connects back to, well, you, me, all of us as viewers.
In what way?
This shift in how we consume news, it means we have to be way more discerning.
Discerning. Okay, I like that word. But what does it mean in this context?
Think about it. We're just bombarded with information these days from all sides, countless sources.
Sure.
We have to be aware of potential biases, question what we read, what we hear, actively seek out different viewpoints.
You can't just take everything at face value.
Exactly. Can't be passive anymore, just absorbing whatever's thrown at us.
So it's more like we have to be active participants in our news consumption.
But that's the idea. Can't just sit back and expect to be spoon-fed the news. We gotta engage, question, connect the dots ourselves.
Wow. When you put it that way, it's kind of empowering, isn't it?
It is. It's not necessarily a bad thing. Could actually lead to a more informed, more engaged citizenry.
It's like we're entering a whole new era of news consumption. One that demands more from us as viewers.
Absolutely. And that's something to keep in mind as we think about the future of news. So, to kind of wrap up our deep dive into Lester Holt's departure, what it means for TV news, should we recap the key takeaways?
Yeah, that's a good idea. We covered a lot of ground.
We did. First, that generational shift in news consumption. Traditional TV viewership declining, especially younger audiences. They're turning to online sources, social media.
Right, and that creates a real challenge for shows like NBC Nightly News.
Adapting to stay relevant. That's the name of the game now.
And then we talked about the importance of the anchor's personality.
Building trust, that's key. Holt leaving could shift the whole tone, the perceived bias, depending on who replaces him.
Which led us to, what qualities should NBC be looking for in their new anchor?
Someone who can appeal to both those audiences. Traditional viewers, younger viewers. Someone authoritative but relatable. And someone who can navigate this whole multi-platform world.
The Swiss Army knife journalist.
Exactly. And finally, that shift in news consumption. It means we got to be more critical, more discerning as viewers.
Aware of biases, question what we see, seek out diverse viewpoints.
All that good stuff.
It's a lot to think about.
It is. But it's also, like you said, empowering.
We have more power than ever as viewers.
We get to choose where we get our news from, how we engage with it. We're shaping the media landscape.
Yeah. Wow. Hadn't thought about it that way before. It's a big responsibility. But exciting, too.
Definitely.
We've covered a lot of ground today talking about Lester Holt's departure and what it might mean for the future of TV news. Any final thoughts you want to leave our listeners with as they, navigate this ever-changing world of news?
How about this? Just something to ponder, a thought-provoking question.
I like those.
With the media landscape changing so much, a new anchor stepping in, will NBC Nightly News try to keep things the same? Or will we see some big changes, a real evolution to try and attract those younger viewers?
Ooh, good question. Guess we'll have to wait and see what happens.
Exactly. Keep your eyes peeled.
Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive. It's been a fascinating conversation.
Always a pleasure.
And until next time, everyone, stay curious.